the director of SCE Energy Solutions. I've been in the solar industry for 12 years. For 11 of those years, I've been selling DC optimized solar, or what we call our smart solar systems. Today I just want to give you a run through as to why DC optimization is so important, and to give you the differences between the two types of systems. Obviously, traditional solar or traditional legacy solar was developed in the 60s. It really hasn't changed that much, and the DC optimization has been around about 11 or 12 years, and it's brought solar into the modern era. So I'll give you a look. Okay, so we want to have a look at the features of our smart solar systems. The main features that we're going to look at are the monitoring capabilities of smart solar, the additional power and how it does that, or the additional power that it generates, and its safety features, which are very, very important. But before we do that, I suppose we need to first look at the monitoring or the website for a standard legacy technology. This is a Fronius website. I'm currently using an example that we did about 6-7 years ago. It's a theatre in Grafton, a heritage theatre, that we installed Tigo Smart Solar. The reason being was the owners at the time wanted to make sure they protected the theatre from fires, and Smart Solar was the safest way to do that. So let's look at the Fronius monitoring. Obviously, this website, it doesn't allow for any safety features, but it does have fairly good monitoring. This site actually has an additional meter fitted to it, which allows us to see how much energy is actually being taken from the grid or being pushed back into the grid. Currently, the solar is generating a couple of kilowatts more than the theatre is using. So we can, at a glance, see that we're producing 14 odd kilowatts of power, and the site is using 12, pushing a little bit back into the grid. Or we can look at this graph. A simpler graph to look at is actually what happened today on site, and we can see here this is the black line is their power consumption, and then we have the curve of the solar system up. About lunchtime, it's generating its peak at just over 25 kilowatts, and now it's on its curve down as the sun starts to go down also. A couple of other features that it allows you to do is you can look at each day during the month. We'll pick another day so you can see a full day of generation. And here we go, there's a generating solar system. The grey area in here is energy that the site uses itself. The green is energy that's pushed back into the grid, and the black line is the consumption of the theatre during the course of the day. So there's a few other little bits and pieces that it does, but really that's about the gist of it. And if you were looking at it, it'd be very difficult to tell if there was a problem with the system when we have this single curve that's looking at the complete system as one. So that's basically what you get from a traditional legacy system in the monitoring. So we'll go now and have a look at our smart system, our smart solar system. So here we are, we're on, this is our home page, so we have a few features here as well, telling us the graph of generation in 7 days. But the main feature is this one, and this is the mapping. So very simply, we can just have a look here. Here is a couple of photos. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, the large array at the back. So we have 4 separate arrays, and very simply, we map it out exactly as it is on the way the array is laid out on the building. We map it out. These green squares indicate the solar panel, and they also tell us where that panel is and its current performance. Now I'm looking here at a live performance, so if this is our timeline down the bottom, I can just scoot along back to the morning, and we can see, so, I should also point out that the greener these panels are, the more they're generating, and the number that's on it that's changing is the amount of wattage it's actually generating. So as you can see, we're getting greener as the numbers go up. That's because we're generating more power. About 9, 10 o'clock down here, we can see we've got 202 here, we've got 194 here, 193, 190. So we can see live that the system is working and that it's working properly. That's a very, very big feature to be able to determine whether your investment is actually giving you the return that it should. There's a lot of other features with the monitoring. Some of these are more for diagnostics, but over here we can see the voltage of each panel, the current. I mean, if I click on that, I can give you a quick look. So we can see what every panel, the voltage of every panel, and the current, and a few other features, but I won't get into that now. More importantly, we can see every panel's working and how it's working and that it's generating correct energy. That's number one. Also with the monitoring, let's just say that the one panel here had a problem and I could see that it was low in performance. I can actually send out a team. We can do some diagnostics with our voltage and our amperage, and if need be, we can even get further diagnostics from Tiger USA, and we know exactly what's wrong with that panel before we go out to site. So we can go to site with the parts we need. We can tell the team that we want to look at B1, which is 3 rows up and the end panel, and please change that one or do whatever needs to be done, and the system's operational again. Another main part of the monitoring is that SCE, with every smart solar system sold, monitor that system's performance for you, and if there's an issue with it, we'll arrange to fix it. So that's a very important a part of our SCE smart solar systems. You know somebody's looking at it to make sure your investment is actually performing. Okay, so that's the monitoring part of it. Then we have the additional generation that comes with these systems. So before I can tell you that, I need to tell you a little bit about how a solar system works. So there are 3 main parts to a solar system. We have the individual panel, that's here. So one panel here, this is panel H9, that is connected to a second part of the system, and that's called a string. A string is when we combine multiple panels together, or we join them up in series. This is indicated on the monitoring by highlighting. By highlighting that panel, we get this whole bottom row of panels turn orange, or red when I'm on it, but mainly orange. That's indicating that those panels are joined together in series and they are one string. So we have an individual panel, we have a string, and then we have the complete array. Okay, so in most circumstances, with traditional legacy solar, a string can only perform as good as its lowest performing panel. So let's look at this particular site. In the morning, I know we get a little bit of shading in the morning from this air conditioning unit that you can see in the picture. Okay, so here we are. This is at 7:25, and this string here, the bottom one that I was talking about, has a couple of panels that are being shaded and affected by the air conditioning, creating shade, and it's reducing the performance of some of those panels. In a normal system, this whole string, that's all of those that are orange, would be working at 27 watts. So instead of 109 watts here, or 96 watts here, or 104 here, they would only be generating 23. So that's a massive amount of power lost. Speaking of lost, I should emphasize that we don't actually generate more power than a traditional system. What we actually do is we capture that power and we don't lose it. So we call this in the game, we call it energy leaks. So we're mitigating energy leaks and capturing as much energy as we can. So a normal system would lose a lot of power just from that one panel being shaded a little bit. So that's that example is of individual panel performance. Although it's one example, it comes into play in many circumstances. For example, we have shading. We could have something fouling a panel. That could be leaves captured on the panels. It could be bird droppings. We could have a panel that has lost a diode and is underperforming. That underperforming panel will reduce the whole string. Um, there is also differences in the heat of a panel, and the hotter a panel is, it doesn't work as well. And if it's not working as well because it's hotter, it might be situated in the middle of the array, not getting as much airflow. Thus, it's a hotter panel. It will produce less energy, and in that case, that whole middle string, because one in the middle is producing less, would be lower. Very importantly, as panels degrade at different rates, each panel can generate the maximum it can at any given time because each panel can produce or works individually. We find that over time, panels degrade differently. So one panel might lose its performance ability more than the one next to it. And when that happens, it doesn't affect the other remaining panels in a string. So these are all ways that we can generate more power. So there's lots of reasons why we generate more power or capture and hold more power. So that's the additional generation. I should also say that although you do have to invest a little bit more for this technology, the return on investment is normally the same as traditional solar because we generate more power. So you pay a little bit more, but you get a lot more back for it. So that's the additional generation side of it. The safety of the system. So currently with 2018 rapid shutdown regulations, this is the only system globally that complies currently. So I'm sure there'll be other people that will start to bring it into play as this regulation is introduced into Australia, but currently this is the only one. So if you're looking to install a solar system, you want to make sure that you're compliant with regulations. I suppose more so than just the regulations. Maybe you should be considering what your insurance companies could think of a solar system that doesn't have the optimum safety features built into it when it comes time to insuring your property. Another very important feature when it comes to the safety is that the computers that run the smart solar system can detect an arc in the system, in the solar system, and that's critical. A DC arc is very, very difficult to stop, and once they start, they normally just continue to burn. So the technology or the software within the smart solar can pick up if a panel has a problem and it needs to turn the panel down. It can pick up if it needs to shut the whole string down, or it can pick up and shut the whole system down. When it does this, it also sends out an alert, so we know that there's a fault and we know that we can how to fix it. It tells us which panel, which string is at fault, and we can have that rectified and your system back up and running again. In Australia, we have our solar regulations reviewed every 4 years. We were anticipating these regulations to come out in June, July of 2020. It seems with global circumstances and COVID that this has been pushed back now to roughly they're anticipating October, and we should see this law introduced. So apart from that, also there's more than just being compliant with regulations. You also want to ensure that the building, the business that the solar is actually being installed onto is protected. You don't want to be reducing your costs of business only to find that the solar you've installed burns the building down. You need to protect your core business. So that's a little bit about our smart solar. Obviously, there are many, many more features with this technology. Tygo has an incredible reliability rate of 0.0006% of a failure rate, so they don't have a lot of problems with their systems. It comes with 25 years warranty to match the panels, and it's a very robust and proven technology. There are other features associated with smart solar that would be that you can actually change a panel, a faulty panel, with a larger or a different sized panel. Something you can't do with traditional technology. So if you have a problem with traditional legacy solar, you have to locate the exact same panel, or you have to look at re-engineering the whole system. With our smart solar, we can simply add to the system with different size panels, and the system will still operate correctly. So it's quite future-proof. In 2018, SCE made a decision as a company that we would no longer sell traditional legacy solar. We see it as a dinosaur, and really you're purchasing a technology that is outdated by decades. We now have, so SCE only sells smart solar technology. We believe in it 100%, and I believe that although it adds some cost to a solar system, the costs are outweighed many times by the features provided by the smart solar and the additional generation. So I think that's about it. Obviously, there are more features associated with that. As far as the generation is concerned of the system, going back to the generation, as systems get older, we find that the Tigo Smart Solar really comes into play, and we really start to see increased and improved generation as systems and panels start to degrade. We start to really see the benefits, and you as the client and the end user really see the benefits from the additional yield. Okay, that's about everything. We're happy to go over this in more detail with you in person and explain all the features face to face.
Okay, so that's a bit of a look at our smart solar technology. If you're looking for more information on it, feel free to give us a call. We'd be happy to walk you through all of the advantages of smart solar and why we believe in this technology so much. Thanks for your time, and thanks for listening. See you.